Um, hope I see some. We have some old faces here. Some old, some some return students, some new ones, which is all good and is always good to see that. Um, I'm Professor Hawkins. Very nice to meet you all. Um, before we get going, um, I'm told to go through a roll sheet just to say everything because uh, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. So I'm gonna run through it. If you don't hear your name, um then you're not in this course. So um Aguru, I believe I have. Let me see. Okay, Rand. Do we have a Rand? Trying to check to see. No Rand. Okay. Rand.
There's a red here. He just typed here in the chat.
Oh, I can't. Oh, I'm not even looking at the chat. I'm listening. Uh so you can say something to me, that would be great.
Yes, here.
Okay then. Ren,
Here.
Brianna,
Here.
Hannah. Okay. Hannah, Nathaniel, Zion.
Here.
Okay. Kathy,
Yeah.
Kathy. John, Augustus, D.
Here.
Okay. And Destiny, Karina.
Here.
Okay. Dion, Brooklyn, Alex, Don,
Here. Yeah.
Kamora,
Here.
Here.
Christopher,
Here.
Alicia, okay. Leah,
Here.
Rachel,
Here.
Kendall, okay, Giovanni,
Here.
Salvador, Zoe,
Here.
Francis.
Here.
Okay, there we go. Hey, how you doing? Marshall, Sean Lloyd,
Here.
Megan,
Here.
Here.
Monira.
Here.
Is that wrong? Or did I say it wrong?
It's right. When you're
Okay, cool. All right. I was just trying to make sure. All right. Missy.
Here.
Hey, Missy.
Hey.
Kip. Here. Danielle. Clark
Here.
and Clark.
Here.
Okay, I got two Clarks, right?
Yeah, one's my dad, one's the
Okay.
son, one's the father.
Well, there we go. There we go. Good, good, good. Damaris. Okay. Anyone's name I did not call. Oh, probably
Mine.
Salvador.
Yes.
What's going on, man? I got you.
Okay,
I
thank
got
you.
you. Yes. And I was like, anyone's name I did not call, and it was two people in the waiting room who just showed up. So there we go. Um, First off, we will. Um, what I like to do on the first day, um, or at least at the start, where everyone can turn on their cameras. It's a classroom. So we turn on our cameras and we take a look at everybody, say hi. And I assume, as I tell my classes, I assume that you're cooking eggs as you're listening to this lecture. So, this right here would be your only time that you have to turn on your camera in this class, as long as you're participating. And I know early, I believe Rand had typed something in the chat box. We're down with that, Rand. We're good with that. You can type and type in the chat box. Everybody can type in the chat box. But I just wanted to see some people and speak. And now you can go back to turn them off if you like, and leave them off for the rest of the semester if you like, as long as you show up. Or you can leave them on. It's up to you. So. All right. Um, all right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Okay. Let me see. I have someone trying to show up here. Let me get them in. There we go. All right. Now, so as I said before, you don't have to have them on. I'm fine with that if you do, but it's all good. But welcome everyone. Again, I'm Professor Hawkins. Welcome to our brass course. It is a brass course. I know that some of you are like, well, I'll sign up for whatever I need to do so I can get into this class so I can be at home on a lecture. So we'll still be learning about government. We just kind of look at government from a different perspective. Um, um, uh, uh, um, my gosh, I forgot the guy's name. But anyway, he wrote this book, A People's History of the United States. And oh, Howard Zinn, I'm sorry, just came up. And he said, we're going to look at history from the point of view of the losers at times. You know, a lot of times when you look at history from the point of the winners. You don't see the losers and stuff like that. So, so we'll be looking at history. We'll be going through government. It's a government course, and we'll go through everything that you need, but just, we will focus on certain things, and, hopefully you'll leave here with a better understanding of other views. As I tell my students, when you look at politics, you're going to learn in this class about facts. You're also going to learn that opinions sometimes matter at the same level as facts, because we live in a democratic nation. So it doesn't really matter what the facts are or what it is, because there are sometimes when the opinion can override everything else, which ultimately lead to outcomes in elections and stuff that you might like or you might not like and things like that. So we'll go through all that, and hopefully you'll learn a lot about Texas government, things like that. Salvador, a great poster. The Whataburger poster. I love it. But anyway,
Oh yeah, thank you.
yeah, so yeah, we took a trip to Wisconsin, and we came back, and I was like, I just can't wait to get back. And we hit Kansas, and they had Whataburger there. And I remembered that Patrick Mahomes paid for him to be there. So I was like, thank you, Patrick Mahomes. The only time I've thanked them for anything, I've been happy for Patrick Mahomes. Was that there? So yeah, great stuff, man. Um, okay, let's take a look at so does anybody have any questions about anything? Okay, if you have questions, you can stop me. You can type it in the chat box. It's all good, right? All right. Let's take a look at the syllabus. Ba, ba, ba. Let's see. All right. It's okay. I'm getting it, people. Give me a second. There we go. All right. So in the syllabus, you should have so you probably looked at it and said, I don't see anything. That's because uh it was hidden, and now you can see it all. So now you'll be able to see all of the content here and things like that. We will look at it from your um point of view. So you'll be able to log on here, click on the syllabus, check this thing out. Hopefully you can see it. You can also look at your own, but hopefully you can see this where it shows everything here. I know that one of you emailed me asking about the textbook. I use so it's the night. It's weird because it's the 19th edition, but it's like 2023 edition and 2024 of it. It's like they're going in and changing charts or something. I don't know what they're doing, right? So I don't know what to tell you. Giovanni, I'm sorry. But so if you can just get a regular 19th edition, then it's good. If not, then you can use the other 19th edition. If you can find an 18th or 17th edition, then look, it's fine. Just you know, when you look at, and I'll be hopping around through the syllabus. Like when you look at the course outline, and you go through it, if you look at it and you say, well, look at voting and elections, it's chapter 4. But in my book, I don't have a chapter. Like chapter 4 is interest groups. Well, if you're saving money by not getting the book, by getting an older edition, just find the chapter that says voting and election, even if it's chapter 18, just use that one. You see, it still lines up with it. That's all you got to do. So you could save you $100 or whatever. What I say is if your shipping costs more than the textbook, you should do the little extra work to go find a chapter that lines up with it. You know what I mean? Because you're saving a bunch of money. Now, if you're like, nah, I don't want to save money. I just rather see the chapter that lines up with it, then have at it. Then you're good. All in all, this is a great book. It's it's not a cheap book. That's why I didn't show it prior to, because I didn't want you all running to try to go buy it, and I wanted you to kind of wait to see so I can tell you, see if you can get an older edition. The textbook is a great book, and and I know it's a great book, and you read through it, then you sometimes get bored, which is great. It's political times. You kind of want it as neutral as possible, and if you're getting excited about the stuff, unless you're into government, then it probably has a slant. And if you're mad at everything, it probably has a slant. You know what I mean? But if you're just reading it, then it's just a straight up textbook, and you should be fine with that. So this is one of those books. It's a great book, and hopefully you all enjoy it. Okay. Let's go back to the syllabus. All right. So I have office hours right after this class. I can also meet with you virtually a lot of time. Look, I'd probably be able to meet with you on a Sunday afternoon. I might be at a football field in my car or in the stands talking to you or something, but we can talk if I can do it, if I'm not helping out coaching or something like that. So I don't mind, meeting with you to answer a question. If you can't understand the concept more, you just stay after, talk to me and stuff like that. We can get that done. I always tell students to give about 24 hours to respond. That's our time. I'm trying to work with, I'm getting better with this, Kathy, in responding to people. Uh, in the past, I'm like, okay, let me look at this email. I'll read an email, and then I'm like, okay, that's the email, and then someone will say something to me, and I'll forget to respond to it. But no, I'm much better now. I've been working on that all summer, getting better. Right. So, but 24 hours, I normally will respond. If not, you can send me a follow-up email and just check to see if I'm still alive. All right, as you can see here, the course is an introduction to Texas state government, where we're going to look at the framework of the government. We're going to look at the Constitution, and then the many different areas of government. So we'll be looking at interest groups, political party, as you can see, voting in elections, the culture, right? We always have to start with the history in government. Even though it's a government class, it sort of overlaps with history. So we're going to look at the history of government, the history of Texas, to bring us to the actual politics of Texas and why we do what we do and things like that. The grading policy, which I have here, I also have it in another section. So if you just want to click on it quickly, you can see it, but it's the same thing. But right here, we have 3 exams and we have a final. So each exam is 100 points. Each exam is broken up into different sections of content. So we'll do like the culture of Texas, political party. I'm sorry, the culture of Texas, the Constitution, and local government, and then an exam. Then we'll have a couple more, then exam. Then we'll have a few more, and then exam. So it'll be split up like that for you. Yes, the final will have a lot of things from the past, but most of the stuff on the final will come from those last few sections that we're covering, which are the institutions, like the 3 branches of government and the bureaucracy and things like that. The whole idea, as you can see with the objectives, is to understand that, how it works, the framework of government, how that operates in your everyday life and things like that. We're going to look at the policies and the politics. And let me tell you, it's exciting times right now. I know that some of you might look at it and say, I wouldn't use the word exciting. But, look, we get to look in our textbooks and hear things about history, but, we're in it right now. We get to live through, we get to see, we understand that there are 2 views going on. When you look back at history and see things get passed, like the Dred Scott case passed, right? Where you can, if a slave runs away, he has to be taken back to his master. And you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, why would they do something like that? This is terrible. Those people back then, they were so terrible. But the thing is, if you were there at the time, maybe there was a section of people who were against it. You know what I mean? And so you're living through a time where even if you're in favor of what's happening, it's a great thing. It's amazing. If you're not in favor of what's happening, and you're able to say, no, look, it was a group of us who did not agree with this at this point in time, even though this was happening. And you kind of see how politics works and things like that, where, there are things that happen that can ultimately shift, where you can weigh everything and say, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this, but there's this one more thing on this side that makes me go this way, and that's why I voted that way. You know what I mean? To sort of help people understand your whole mindset. But being in it at the time, I think it's a good thing because you're able to truly understand it. Yes, it's a lecture course. You got to read everything to get the most out of class, and to take part in the discussion. I take pride in in telling people that my class participates, especially in the chat box. There's a bunch of responses and questions in the chat. It's just going on and on as I'm lecturing, and I respond to it, as I do it and stuff like that. Not all counts as a participation. I mean, it's not nonsense being sent in there, but you know what I mean. It's actual things actual responses and questions that you might have, or comments that you might have about the material and things of that sort. We do have an orientation quiz that you will have to complete, as I have here. That orientation quiz is right here. You just click on that thing there. Once you get there, you have 2 attempts to do it, and you can get that done and things like that. All right. Should be easy stuff. Yes, I told you I'd be hopping back and forth. So we have so we're gonna have, instead of doing research papers or anything like that, so we'll do current events and response papers. So the current events, there'll be 8 of them. As you know, all the assignments will be turned into Blackboard. These things are due by 11:59 on the scheduled date. And ultimately, what you're going to do is find an article or a news source or, from a newspaper or a news source or a political cartoon, right? What I have here is that we don't have any sports or celebrity news unless it relates to government. I would rather you get Texas state and local government sources. If you can't find it, then I guess U.S. government could work. But all in all, I really, would hope that you can find some in the state that deals with that there. And ultimately, what you'll do is you find it. It should be a page in length, a double spaced. And you're basically just explaining how it relates to government and why, in your opinion, is this source important. So that why, in your opinion, is this source important is important as well, but it's also important to tell me how it relates to government and things like that. Okay.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So, how, like, do you want a page or like
Uh-huh.
how many sentences do you want?
It should be a page long double space.
Okay.
It's like 12 font, just normal stuff, you know. Um, if you look here, and I'll elaborate, I'll talk about that in a little bit more, ma'am. But if you look here, the first current event is due on September the 2nd, right? Which means anything that has happened between now and September the 2nd can be a current event that you find, right? You can turn in today. You can turn in September the 2nd at 8 p.m., right? As long as you get that in by 11:59 p.m. on September the 2nd. It does not have to relate to Texas history and political culture. We just happen to be covering it that day that is due. Now, current event 2 will be anything from September the 3rd, since you turned in this one on the 2nd, through September the 11th. You see what I'm saying? Is everybody with
Well,
me? Everybody
it
good with that?
doesn't need to line up with what we're going over in class, though.
It does not.
Okay.
It does not. We just happen to be going over that. Like if you find out because you're going into like nursing and you're into that, then you're like, you know what? They're actually cutting funding to nursing to the nursing programs in Houston. Can I write about that? Well, yeah. The government's cutting your funding to nursing. That is important stuff. You see what I'm saying? It still works, right? You'll find that government is everything. It's all in your life. And I try to explain this to students pre 2020. Students were like, after 2000, since 2020, most students know, oh, yeah, government's involved in everything. These students have joined their weird uncle who's really overly involved in politics, or grandpa who they have to make to turn off the news at Thanksgiving, because we understand how important it is. And as you can see, these things are due between all of these dates and things like that. You cannot do the current events early. I want you to do the current events, or at least I'm asking that students are completing the current events in that, in those dates, within those dates, because the whole idea is for you to keep up with the news and things like that. I try. Let me see, how can I word this? So I explain this to I try to explain to students, which you might not truly stand. I mean, you might. I don't know, right? So, two things. One, when you look at someone like Hillary Clinton, right? Right, Hillary Clinton, she one of her big things in 2008 that hurt her in the election was, well, the main thing that hurt her in that election against Obama was that she voted for the war in Iraq, a very unpopular war in Iraq. Now, I believe everyone here understands that it was a very unpopular war, right? People were not happy about the war in Iraq. I don't know if you knew this. Here's the thing. If you were alive at the time, you'd had a different view. So even the people who voted against her, who were saying that's wrong that she voted for the war in Iraq, Many of them were in favor of the war in Iraq. That's the one thing there. The thing is, when you're able to look back on history, you can look back with a 2020 vision and say, oh, that's this, and we should have did that. And the whole idea of this here is that I want you to understand the current event right now. Understand what our politicians are going through. Understand what people who are voting are going through, and we're operating with the information that we are currently have. How do we make a decision? How are we viewing this through our lens right now, at the moment, when it's happening, not back, like years later when you can look back on it and do an investigation and things like that. So that's essentially what it's about. I will tell you on the side, just to add on to that is that when you think, I thought it was unfair how they that hurt Hillary because I'll ask you all, and anybody can answer, or all of you can answer in the chat box. Actually, I want you to type in the chat box and tell me. I'm gonna say something, then you tell me the first thing that you think of, the first place that you think of. Okay, 9/11. Come on, what do you think of? Now, thank you, everybody. That's all I see. Pearl Harbor. What? What is happening? Clark. That's that's interesting because Pearl Harbor was 9/11, but before 9/11. So good point. So you do realize that one of those planes hit the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., right? I don't know if you all knew this. It hit the
Yeah.
Pentagon, but nobody thinks of the Pentagon. They only think of New York. Hillary was the senator of which state? New York. So is a senator supposed to represent the people or go rogue? You think the senator of Vermont, I'm sorry, Bernie. You think the senator of Texas, you think the senator of all these other states can do what the senator of New York can do at the time? No, they have to vote with them. So you can be in Massachusetts or in California and vote against going to war in Iraq or whatever. You cannot be the senator of New York because the people wanted blood. As liberal as you might think New Yorkers are, at the time they wanted they wanted blood. Interesting stuff, right? And some of you who were around, I know at the time, watching it along with me. I remember I was in college at the time, and they came in and told us that we have to go because we're under attack, and we're like, what? Then they were like, the Twin Towers have been hit, and we were like, what is that? Or the World Trade Center has been hit, and we're like, what is that? Then we walked downstairs with these huge, big tube TVs in the student center, and we saw everyone around just watching it and stuff. And we had a whole different view of things. And so I just want students to understand things in that time period. How are we understanding it right now? Because everybody has an opinion later on, but in the moment, there are a lot more people agreeing with that viewpoint than we might actually realize. So the current events must be done in that time period. And hopefully, as you go home and Thanksgiving and grandpa says something and you're like, no, that's not what happened. This, this, and this. And he's like, oh, you must be learning that from a crazy instructor of yours. And you're like, no, actually, I found that article myself. That's me. That was my article. I found it. That's not how that happened. And I've had students say that many times, and it's a great feeling. All right. All right. Pearl Harbor. I love it. All right. All right. We'll continue. Okay, where are we? Oh no, I clicked the wrong one. I'm sorry. So we left off here on the other one, which are weekly summaries. Oh, I'm sorry. I know where I left off at. I left off right here. Let me see. Let me show you an example. This is my one that I got from a student years ago, and I asked him if I can use it. And he told me yes, and I've been using this for years now. As you can see, this is from when Obama was there. As you can see, so Obama, 2016, Justice Scalia dies, um, and the Republicans tell Obama, "Nah, no, you are not appointing anyone. It's not happening." And he's like, "But that's not even right. Like, you're not even gonna give me a chance." No, no, we're not doing anything to after the election. We're just not doing it. They're like, it's not even in the Constitution. Constitution said I get to appoint. Well, I'll just write it into the Constitution. So, as you can see from the article, that's what I mean from the cartoon. That's what they're saying, and ultimately, so this student he found this cartoon and he told how it related to government and why it's important. He explained it all out and things like that. And as you can see here, he did this. So he wrote this portion, but since the photo or the picture that he put there, the cartoon is so large, he continued on this page to ensure that it's at least a page long. Let me see. This is to give you an example of what I mean by a current event or something like that, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Um, I told you I'll show you an example. So there you go, right there. I just read that, Hannah. That sounds about right. So like my dad, that's how he. I'm like, come on, man. That is not how that works. All right. Let's see. Okay. Okay. This is I'm sorry. I'm working with this system here. I should be better at it, but here we go. All right. So back to this. We are doing non-response papers. Now these response papers, how these things work, is essentially this. We are going to read through the readings. So we'll read like chapter 1 on political culture, and then you're going to give me a page response to what you thought about it, right? Essentially an opinion piece on what you thought about the actual reading, right? I read it. I read the Declaration of Independence, and this is how I feel about it. I don't think that the founding fathers really cared about everybody. They didn't really want this, blah blah blah. Or Declaration of Independence, one of the greatest, greatest documents ever written. I love this thing because of this, and this. So ultimately, I'm just giving you an example of how you would write one of these things. But ultimately, the political culture, as you can see, right, any asterisk here shows when a potential response paper is due. Fairly 17 and 45 here. You'll find that on Google. You just look for it on Google. We'll also have a video on Last Man Standing. We'll have this here, and as you can see, right here's a handout, another handout. Every asterisk there is a potential response paper. And as you can see here, you only have to complete 9 of these things, right? You don't have to do them all, right? You only have to complete 9. It is assumed that you're going to read everything, but you only have to respond to 9 readings. These 2 are a page in length, a double space, and these are due before we actually go over it. I'm going to start a lecture today for, with the time that we have. So you are free to write about some of the stuff that you hear today or respond to it. If you don't have a textbook, if you want to get going. With the Constitution, you can search the Texas Constitution online and read through that thing. I I'm sorry, because it's not the greatest thing, but you can read through it and respond to some of the stuff in there. Also, Fairless 17 and 45 will be one document, and you'll search that on Google and read those and then respond to it. So you got about three chances to get going, even if you don't have a textbook of writing a response. I mean, you need to read, but I'm saying just writing a response without a textbook, you can still get going with it and things like that. Um, by Thursday, if you want to turn in what's due Thursday, it'll be the response to Texas history and political culture, right? If not, then you just choose 9 others. So, all right. The question to you all is this. Response paper 1, it will cover what? Yeah, you can type it in the chat.
Texas history and political culture.
Okay, cool. So it'll cover Texas history, political culture. So response paper 2 will be what?
I guess we choose, right? You said
choose.
9 from.
You choose.
Okay.
You choose. So it could be anything, right? Now, technically, I mean, not technically, but I have students who look down here and say, okay, here's number 7, that's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or whatever. And they say, okay, I'll just start in October and do the last 9. That's fine if that's what you want to do, right? I don't live like that. It's a stressful life, right? I just rather do, I'd rather hop around and get a couple done at least before I get going. But yeah, you could do the last 9. You can pick around and do 9. You could do the first 9 as long as you get 9 done and they're done and they're turned in before we actually go over them in class, right? So once Wednesday comes, if you don't turn in chapter 1, then you can no longer turn it in. Even though we are covering like chapter 3, the Texas Constitution, 2 days. Once I start the lecture, you can no longer write about it. Okay.
So basically, you're saying the deadline is before you start like talking about
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Thursday, Kip. I don't know what else. Come on, Kip. I have
It's
80
the
classes.
orientation quiz.
Yeah, it's
So
Thursday is what I
essentially-
do.
This one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When is the orientation quiz done? Due?
The orientation quiz is due by Friday.
Okay.
So
I'll say it
essentially,
right there.
so essentially, we're just doing the reading in advance and then writing our reflection on it before class starts.
Right. But you only have to write 9 of them.
Gotcha.
Right. The whole idea is for you to read before you come to class. So if you have questions, then you can ask in class and things like that. So yeah. And you have a better idea of what's happening. It'll be like a review. You'll be like, oh, okay, that's what that meant, and things like that. So
Yes, sir.
okay. As you can see, these things should be turned in before class by 9 or by 8:59 a.m. or whatever. If you're choosing to turn it in. Also, participation is 100 points, as you've seen. It's equal to an exam grade. So, we want you to participate. Also, if you're not going to be here, just shoot me an email and things like that. I don't record classes normally because so we treat this like we would a lecture class in the classroom. Don't really have a drone in there or a camera set up to record or anything like that. So there we go. You have until November the 20th to drop the class if you want to leave. I mean, I don't know why you would want to leave, but if you do, that's the date. But you should also check it out on your own since it is your class. As we look at dishonesty, please don't cheat. Pretty straightforward stuff. It is assumed that you all are not cheating, are not using anything like that. We will have exams Online, the exams are timed. You can't go backwards, so you can't backtrack. You can only go forward in the exam. And if so that's it. I mean, that's how we have that going there. If you look down at office for students with disabilities, if you have any sort of accommodation that you need and you've had those accommodations sent to me, I will put those in. If not, you should go talk with them. If you feel like you need the accommodations, then I'll get that set up for you for any extensions on the exams or anything like that. We'll get that worked out and stuff like that. Okay. Now, the last two things on here that I want to cover. The first one I think is important. I mean, both of them are important. But the first one is academic freedom. As you can see here, we want students to participate in class. We want students to talk in class. We want students to answer. This is not an English class. It's not a science class or something like that. It's a government class. So there's a lot of tension at times when it comes to topics and things like that. And I tell you all, and I'm sorry, I apologize to you all who've heard this before. I know I got some few students who've heard this in the past, but I have to say it. Some students get very, very passionate about it. Look, it's serious, but it's not that serious, right? Elections, we have elections and one side's mad one time, the other side's mad the next, a few years later and things like that. And all in all, these guys are hanging out with each other and stuff. And it's like us in the stands in a football game in a fist fight. And those guys are down there playing the game and then they're hugging up with each other and trading jerseys after the game. And we're in a fist fight with each other. Let's be nice, right? Let's be nice to each other, right? And let's try to understand that politicians are not perfect people, even if we believe that they are. They don't need you to take up for them at that level. You know what I mean? Where it just gets kind of weird and stuff. And I know we're in weird times, right? And I got to tell you all, we sometimes, I believe that most of us, I mean, maybe not y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe not me because I do government and stuff like that. But most of us enjoy having days of going through life, not even having to think of government, forgetting that we even have a government. These are great days. These are great times. It's a great life. But more recently, since like 2010, with supporters of Ron Paul, and then we got the supporters of Bernie Sanders, and then we got the supporters of Donald Trump, and more recently the supporters of AOC. Very passionate supporters where it's hard to even have a conversation with people. And I know that might upset some of you. And if it does, it's probably because you're a supporter of one of the we all are able to look at politicians and talk about them and say, man, I can't believe he did that. That was terrible. That was a stupid thing that they did. And for some reason with these four, their supporters are very passionate and they feel like you are personally attacking them. And they don't want you to actually give in either. They want you to accept what they're saying about them, and it has led to lost relationships and everything else. And I tell you, it's not that serious, people. One of the greatest things ever was in that election in 2016 when Hillary and Trump were going back and forth in a very contentious election. Chelsea Clinton, Hillary Clinton's daughter, and Donald Trump's daughter went on vacation with each other in that August. Why? Because they're friends, or at least they were best friends at the time. So I don't know what they are now, but they were. That just lets you know. So let's be nice and operate in a civil manner, and think everything will turn out great. You've probably heard this in your classes of late with AI, and we all have to have an AI policy. My policy is no, I'm not going to allow that because it's your opinion. That's the purpose of you being here, right? I want to force you to have an opinion. That's why I have you to do response papers. That's why I have you to do the current events. I want you to have an opinion on this so you can see how important this stuff is in your everyday life. Why do you need something to do to write an opinion page for you, right? Even when it comes to your exams, this should be your stuff. And as you can see, I have everything in there. I have your first offense, your second offense, and look, if you're trying to do a spell check and things like that, that's fine, right? But all in all, it's not. I would encourage you all to steer clear of that, especially in my class. All right. Any questions about that? All right. Let me just. All right. Let me just go a little further with this here. Look. I have to tell y'all that, or at least ask you, like, what is the purpose of you being here? Are you here so you can get a nice job in the future? Is that the point? Or are you just here just to take classes or what? Like, what is the point? And I ask you this question because if the computer can do it, then why do we need you? If AI can do it, then why do I need you? Like, what do you need it for? Because AI is never going to need a sick day. AI doesn't have a child they have to take to school. AI doesn't have to leave early to go pick up someone. AI is not going to have a car trouble. AI doesn't have to take vacation. And what you're doing by using it is telling us every single day that we don't need you. And we know that companies love the bottom line. And you're basically just going through school, just racking up debt so that you can't find a job later because you've already told us that I have something better that it only takes one of you, right? I can get I can get Zoe to just sit and just look over a computer system that will cover everybody else's job because the computer is doing it. And I know that she can do it, and I know that the computer can do it because so many students are using it now. It's the weirdest thing. I just ask that you don't look at us and say that it's our fault that you can't get a job now, that you can't get a job in the future because of how we've done things. Understand that you guys are contributing to your own downfall. Okay. I believe I went over everything in the. Oh, no, I didn't. There was one more piece in there that I should have gone over, which is um, where to turn everything in. You can turn in the response paper here. You just click there, you click on that, and you can turn it in there, right? Also, the current events, you click on it there, and you can turn it in right there. Okay. There we go. Any questions? And there's a great policy again. If you look here, you need at least 480 points to make an A. I mean, to make a C in this class. Okay, why is this important? It's important because of Blackboard. Now, Blackboard is going to give you a false sense of passing at times, even if you don't turn in work. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you take the first exam and you make a 97 on it, and you don't do anything else, like you don't do any other exams, You don't turn in current events or summaries. When you log into Blackboard, it's going to say that you have an A in government. Here's the crazy thing. Students have talked to me and argued with me and said, it said I had an A. And I would tell them, you only took exam 1. You didn't turn in anything else. Yeah, because it said I had an A. But you know you don't have an A. The thing is, Blackboard is only going to factor in things that you have attempted. It's not going to factor in stuff that you didn't attempt. So you keep looking at it saying, I got an A, I got an A, I got an A. When you know darn well, as my uncle says, that you didn't have an A. So if you want to make an A, you need to get at least 618 points. But to get to a C is fairly easy, as you can see, because the participation is 100 points. The response papers are just opinions. That's 9 opinions. That's 90 points. The current events, easy stuff. So that's 270 points. All you need to get is 210 more points out of that to get to a C, out of the 420. So it should be an easy class to pass. I'll also have extra credit opportunities as well. So, or at least an opportunity or something. So, all right. Any questions? Come on, I know how y'all are, right? You're like, not me. I know how students are. You're like, I don't want to ask now. I'll ask later. No, you can ask me now. It's okay.
I have a question. So you said how many points do we need for a C?
480.
Okay. Thank you.
I believe that's what it showed. Yeah.
It
480.
Sorry. You said it's like 680 points for an A, right?
At 18, I believe is what it said.
How many points did you need for an A?
I believe it said it's 618. All you got to do is just go to the syllabus and click on the grading policy. But yeah, I exit out. I'm sorry, but it should. I believe it's 618.
And then how many possible points are there? Like, is that
Like 690.
okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you gonna add due dates to some of these assignments? I'm not seeing on Blackboard due dates specifically.
For which assignments?
It's on my end, it's just not showing as due dates for anything. So the response papers, it says no due date, as well as the current events. It's not saying any due date.
Well, the current event, the response papers, when do you want them to be due?
That's where I was confused about. I'm reading over the syllabus. I feel like I don't have a good description on how it works exactly, just what to write the paper on, not how it.
Okay, well, two things, Danielle. The first is that this class is treated like a lecture class. If
Gotcha.
we're in a lecture class, I gave you a syllabus, would you say, hey, where are the due dates on my computer? Would you say? Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is, remember, you're free to turn in 9 before the semester's over. If I tell you a due date, then you'll feel like that you have to turn that one in. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, no, I'm serious. Do you really understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because you're like, you're right. But
I
yeah,
think I'm sorry,
so-
but I think the like the current event ones we do have due dates, and that's on the I think it was like course outline. It says where the due dates are. If you go on Blackboard course outline, the due dates will be there for the current event, but the response paper don't have a due date.
Yeah, that's why I was headed next. Yes, the current events do have a due date, but the response papers have no due date, except you have to complete it before we actually go over it, and you get to choose your own 9. You know what I mean? Let me see. Here we go here, right? If you look here, so the current event is due by the 2nd of September, right? But you can turn that in anytime between now and then, right? With the response papers, if I put a due date in for everyone, then you guys would try to turn them in or just email me responses because you have no place to upload anymore. But you get to choose, any 9 to turn in, right? You just choose it and you turn it in. The actual due date is on this date here if you're choosing to write about it, or it's on this date if you're choosing to actually write about it, which is how we have it there. I know what you're saying, Danielle. I just try to leave it. I try to give you guys some flexibility in the course on turning in, when to turn these things in. And with that, I know it doesn't look good in the calendar for you, because of the flexibility and things like that.
Professor, but I think if, in my opinion, the flexibility worked really good because you can pace yourself and enjoy more of the reading. And I know at the beginning it's a little bit confusing because I took the other class. I get it now how it works. And but for the new students, if after they get a sensation of the flexibility that they have with the articles that they need to submit, it feels really good to me. So I just want to give that feedback.
Yeah, and thank you, Kathy. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, if you have other classes that have assignments, they have due dates, and they're like, "This must be done this day." It allows for you to say, "Well, I'm not turning a response this week because I got too much stuff going on. I'll just wait until the next one." You know what I mean? So I have it like that set up so that you don't have a bunch of stuff that's going on. Look, I know my exam is going to be the same day as one of your other exams because we all have this weird mental clock where it's like class, 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 exam, class, 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 exam, and we do that, so we end up having it around the same time. But I don't want to overwhelm you with assignments as well and things like that. I'll also email you all. I always email students at least to follow up to explain. And Danielle, I'll be here after class. I can talk to you. I can explain more to you and kind of go over it with you. It's all good. But I'll also tell you that, Danielle, thank you for asking the question and saying it, because I know you have some classmates who agree with you and they have no idea what's happening and they're kind of confused as well. So I appreciate you asking. All right. Great stuff. Great stuff.
We have a question in the chat.
Mhm.
Kip wanted to know if we do bad on one, can we turn in a different one for a new grade?
Okay. So Kip, what do you mean bad? You mean like if you write about the political parties and say, I hate the entire Republican Party, they're terrible people, and I'm like 0? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like if we submitted a response and then it just didn't come back with like a good grade, and you said we only needed to submit 9, what if we submitted like 10? Would you take the 9 best?
Okay. Now, if you submit it, this is the only reason why I would actually respond to you and say, nah, this is not going to work. If it's not a page, a double space, or if it's not related to the topic that you are responding to. Other than that, it's going to be accepted. Now,
Okay, so it's
as I
almost
tell my students, as I told my students in the past, and I'll tell you now, I might read through it and think, this is nonsense. I did not. And I would probably argue with you about this at a coffee shop, but in the classroom, no, it's fine. That's your opinion. It works. It's
okay.
10 points. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Uh-huh.
like we don't have anything specific to like questions to answer when we do our response. We basically just give our opinion and just talk about it in general, like whatever we think in our minds.
Right. So, like, if you're having a hard time early on, I know I have students that have a hard time early on. They're like, I don't have an opinion. That's fine. You can kind of give me some summary at the start, you know, if you need to, and then give me some opinion or all summary and then give opinion. But eventually I want an opinion from you. You know what I mean? I want you to kind of work toward that. But that's a good question, Rand. Like when you're reading through it, like at times you might look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, that was a lot of information and stuff. How do I respond to everything?" I don't expect you to respond to everything. You can't respond to everything, right? There may be a few things that jump out at you and stuff, and you're like, okay, overall, this is how I feel about this here, blah blah blah, or I just feel this way, or this chapter was interesting because this is nothing like how I've experienced, in my life. In my life, this didn't happen. It happened like this, and this. So it's all that there, right? It's basically just your, opinion and viewpoint. And I know you're not going to be able to cover every single thing in a page, but I just want you to respond to it.
Okay.
Um, let me make sure it's the right topic, and then you ultimately write about it. Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. It's. I don't want you to buy that book. That book is expensive. Now, if you are, if you're a veteran and we're paying for it as the public, then I say go get it. So all that's in the syllabus and things like that. So, all right. All right. Okay. We will have handouts and video clips and all kind of things in here. So, yes. All right. Okay. Anything else?
Are we required to watch videos in this class? Because that was one of the questions on the orientation quiz.
Right. And I can't tell you that answer. Because
I read the syllabus, so that's
right.
what I'm asking.
See, the orientation quiz is for you to look through it. So, but you should be able to find that answer on the course outline.
The course okay.
Yeah. I'll give you that part. I'm not giving you anything else, okay, Rand? Now, all right. All right. So I believe that we are through that part there.
I had a question.
Uh-huh.
Can I get a quick rundown again of the current events and what you're expecting to hear again?
I
Kind of getting.
I talk to you after class about
Hi
it.
guys, welcome
Okay,
back to
okay.
my channel.
Sorry.
Yes. No, it's a lot. There's no quick rundown. But I will be emailing you all. And I'll email you some stuff about that as well.
Okay.
All right. I want to make sure. I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
No, I was just saying okay.
Okay. Okay, I want to make sure I get started with something just in case you want to write something and you don't have a book. And then I'll get going at least, and you'll be able to see some stuff and feel like you actually got, something to get going with. So we've had about Six Flags over parts of Texas, not all of the state, but parts of it, right? As you can see here, a quote from DW here: "The Texan is strongly individualistic and egalitarian, optimistic and utilitarian, volatile and chauvinistic, ethnocentric and provincial." Now, anyone not from Texas? Because you might anybody? I'm sure I got a few.
I am.
There we go.
I'm not from Texas.
See, there we go. Well, Louisiana is basically it's like being from Oklahoma. You're basically from parts of Texas. No. I don't know about Oregon though. That's a whole nother world. But look, we are full of ourselves, and I understand that. And people who aren't from Texas, like some of you probably know that we love ourselves more than we probably should. I'm sure they feel the same way in California, New York, if any of you are from there. You know what I mean? But we have a whole different viewpoint, where we judge people, all based on our viewpoint and things like that. We're going to go into the individualistic, whatever that thing is, right? Viewpoint, right? We believe that people's value lies in any usefulness that they might have, which is crazy because it's this whole thing is that if you're useful, then you are worth something. If you're not useful, then you're not and stuff. We have a history of being violent. Any of the old films, if any of you watch westerns, which anyone who's taken my class know that I love those old westerns. Reminds me of my grandfather who used to watch them. The dude from Texas, if he tells you he's from Texas, he's probably a crook. He's probably gonna do something violent, you know. And we clearly judge everyone all based on our viewpoints. I remember when the president of China was talking about George W. Bush, and he was like, I don't think that that's an American thing. I think it's a Texan thing. He thinks he's a cowboy and he's better. It's a Texas thing. And we were like, yeah, that's probably exactly what it is. He's a Texan, right? So, um, that's just who we are. Now, um, and before let me just tell you before I move on that Texas has had this nice history of who have a nice history. We were a part of Mexico. We were for a long time in Spain and things like that. 37 Spanish governors, 15 Mexican governors, five presidents of Texas, 49 state governors. And clearly, Texas has a Mexican influence, right? A strong Mexican influence. But we also ushered in this new culture of this English, Scott Irish culture in the after 1840s or so, after Texas won its independence from Mexico. And then, we eventually got our first Protestant church built 1840 in Houston. There's a story of a guy named William Steinhardt, and he was from Germany. He was a German immigrant. He came here to kind of scout out the things, right? He was like a scout, and he writes back to Germany. He's like, "Hey guys, listen, Texas is a beautiful place. It's beautiful. The ground it doesn't open up like everyone says it does, right? You have to work hard if you want to make something out of yourself, but be careful." And beware, and just know this that if you threaten anyone, they will shoot you. That's how they roll in Texas. Well, he didn't say roll, but you know what I mean. And ultimately, like Texas, like we had a bunch of people killed and stuff in these shootouts and stuff. And he also wrote in there that all of these shootouts that we've heard and about and things are not like that. Normally people shoot at each other, never get shot. They shoot the other people around them get shot in the background, the bystanders. But Texas also was one of the first states, if not the first state, to ban open carry because of that reason. All right, everyone, listen. We know that Mexico lost, that Mexico owned parts of the United States, modern United States. But do you know how much Mexico lost? I'm just wondering. Look at that map. All of the oil, all of the gold in California. Mexico lost the silver in Colorado. Mexico lost a lot, a whole lot. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen this map before, right? I do want you to pay attention to look at this map before I move on. You see that this part in red is the United States, and all of this is Mexico and things like that. So, sure, we'll talk about that again in a couple weeks or a week or so. So here's a map that many guys have seen. I'm sure I'm saying guys because as we walk, because in Bucky's, if you go to the restroom every now and then, this map is there on the way in, and many of the guys are standing there looking at the map, of Texas and things like that. But ultimately, if you look at it, so they say this is Texas 1841 and 1843. This, however, is not the real true. I mean, this is not really, or at least this is the map, right? But Texas also went in further, right? Texas went. I don't know if you can see the pointer. Can you see the pointer as I'm moving this around? I don't know if y'all can see this. Okay, cool. So Texas went. Yeah, Texas did go up into Oklahoma and all that, but Texas went in more into New Mexico. Texas lost that portion when they joined the United States. We had some, a bunch of debt that we had to pay off to random folks and stuff like that. So, Texas ultimately turned into this here. And Texas border, everyone agreed, right, in Texas, that Texas border stopped right here. So this is not true. This 1841 and 1843. Yeah, this map is off. I don't know. I mean, William is clearly wrong because you can look through it and you'll see that Texas had this, had looked at this river, the Nueces River, as its actual border. The Mexicans still had troops here and stuff. And once Texas joined the Union, we started to send United States troops down to kind of get started with the battle, and it gave us a reason to fight them. And ultimately, we pushed our border to the Rio Grande. Now, I will tell you, the Mexicans didn't really have anyone here, in this area. They just had a few posts and some soldiers, but a few soldiers. They didn't have a lot of people living there and stuff like that. But this was still considered part of Mexico whenever Texas won. So, if you're ever in like a cash cab or something and they ask you, or on Jeopardy or something like that. All right. As you can see here, we have Sam Houston, and Sam Houston is not the equivalent to George Washington. I mean, you look at someone like Sam Houston, clearly Stephen F. Austin was someone who folks would probably say he was kind of like Ben Franklin, but I would argue that Sam Houston was beloved like Ben Franklin, not really like George Washington, right? Like Ben Franklin. People loved Ben Franklin, loved the dude, right? But with Sam Houston, as you can see, even the people who were anti-Houston did not hate Sam Houston. They were like, I'm anti-Houston because I don't believe that we can live peacefully with Native Americans. That made you anti-Houston. It's not, I hate the guy. The guy's an idiot. Nah, he just wants us to live peacefully with Native Americans. I don't think we can do that. Right. So Abraham Lincoln runs for president, runs for the nomination for this new political party, the Republican Party. Abraham Lincoln loses the nomination, right? And the guy who represents the Republican Party in the 1856 election loses. Now, Abraham Lincoln he's out debating. And him and Stephen Douglas, who are going to be the nominees for Stephen Douglas being the nominee for the Democratic Party. Abraham Lincoln is going to be the nominee for this new party, the Republican Party, and these guys are debating each other. They call them Lincoln Douglas debates. Abraham Lincoln is wiping the floor with this dude, right? He is just he's beating him, right? And we know he's beating them and making better arguments because people started to question slavery. They're like, man, you know what, man, maybe slavery is not so good. Maybe this here and this that. So we eventually get the book, Uncle Tom's Cabin that comes out. So we got these things here where folks are like, I don't know, man. Maybe this is not saying you're either with us or you're against us, right? So we started to see this because people started to question it. They started to wonder, this is not cool, man, right? Or maybe this is not right. So here we go. So Texas, so let's back up a little, right? So Texas wins its independence from Mexico. Now Texas joins the United States as the 28th state in the Union because we have to wait to ensure that we have free states and slave state equal. And then Texas left in 1861. Um, when the entire as the other states in the South left. Ultimately, Abraham Lincoln offered troops to Sam Houston, and Sam Houston was like, "No, I'm not going to take troops and fight my own people." Um, but all in all, this guy right here, a very important figure, I would argue, in history. Major General Gordon Granger. I don't know if any of you ever heard of him. This is the guy who made his way to Galveston on June 19th, 1865, and freed the slaves, which we call Juneteenth now. So this is Major General Gordon Granger, very, very important figure in our history and things like that. I will tell you this. Well, I guess I won't. It's 10:19, and whatever I say is gonna last a lot longer than just 1 minute. So um, thank you all. It's nice meeting with you all. I will be here to answer any questions. And everyone else, thank you. Very nice meeting you. And yeah, I'll see you on Wednesday.
Thursday.
Thursday. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. All right, y'all. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye-bye, y'all.
I had a question. I just
Uh-huh.
wanted to. It's I think you said this at the beginning, but I don't remember. But you said it was a brass course, but I don't have to be in the brass program to take it, right?
I don't know. Did they speak with you or anything like that?
I emailed them and they just responded with putting me in the class. So I think I'm good, but I didn't know.
Okay.
That's
You're
what
good, and I guess you're good.
All right, thank you.
didn't
All
happen.
right. All right.
Have a good day.
All right, you too. Um, I don't know. I normally no. I might do it, but if I do, then it'll be at the end. It'll be after I'm done with them. I'm completed. I've, after I've gone over it. So, uh-huh.
So I was gonna ask this. Can you hear me? I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I was gonna ask the same question. So, for the PowerPoints, I usually like also reading the PowerPoints. So, do you usually just like upload them after class or?
I normally don't upload them at all.
Oh,
Like I said,
okay.
if I do, then it's something that I would do after I've completed that particular section. So like if I'm moving on to the Constitution, then I would probably, if I were to upload, I would upload the lecture on culture, right?
Okay.
Right.
Two, we are ready for extraction. Over.
Copy that. I'll have to play around with that a little bit more because I failed at getting him up.
For a time, the humans of Serra knew the illusion of peace. Until Emergence Day.